Duro-Last website resources, and Quit and Exit. Clicking on the Printable PDF Documents button opens a Documents by Topic page, listing several topics. Clicking on a topic opens a list of files for that topic that you can view and print. Each page has buttons that allow you to see the next Documents by Topic pages, or you can return to the main menu or the previous Documents by Topic pages. You can also choose to quit and exit the DVD at any time. Back on the main menu, clicking on the Instructional Video Clips button instructs you to open the DVD playing software on your PC. You'll need to open the DVD playing software in your PC first, then you'll have access to all the features of this DVD, including documents and links to the Duro-Last website resources. But if you just want to quickly view a procedure, method, or technique, you can select any one of the instructional video clips using your regular DVD player and TV. The menus let you choose the specific topic you want to view. If you want to return to the menu from any video, just click on the Next button. Your computer must have the current version of Adobe's Acrobat Viewer software in order to view and print PDF documents. Closing Adobe Acrobat will return you to the last DVD screen you opened. Finding your way through the DVD is simple. Just click on a direction or topic button and the DVD will take you there. When video clips are finished playing, or when you close a printable document or your web browser, the DVD program remains open. And that's about it. If you have problems with the DVD, contact Duro-Last for support at 800-248-0280. If you're ready now, we'll return to the main menu to get started. When you have finished watching this clip and the separate clips on measuring and ordering for details, you will have the knowledge you need to measure a building roof and order your job's correct materials from Duro-Last. Remember, your estimate and ultimately your proficiency and profitability will only be as good as your planning and preparation. So be thorough and accurate when assessing your job. You must estimate and plan for all of your labor, including that needed for tear-offs, repairs to the deck, and the like. Measuring the roof is needed for all Duro-Last installations. To proficiently measure a building for a Duro-Last roof system, you need to know a little about our system and the required tools. This will help you place an order that meets your needs. In order to be efficient, you should prepare a complete plan to ensure a successful installation. As an estimator, you will do all the needed planning, estimating, and ordering in a precise method so that your crew will be able to proficiently install the Duro-Last roof system. Here are a few general tips that will help you during your survey. Duro-Last strongly recommends against using roller measure tools because they do not always produce accurate results. But if you must use one, don't let the roller jump or skip as you walk across the roof. Roller measuring tools are not recommended for use on ballast roofs. This causes inaccurate measurements that could cost hundreds of dollars or cause you to over or underbid a project because you miscalculated square footage. Make sure that you bring with you to the job site the Duro-Last grid sheet and a Duro-Last order blank along with a couple of pencils. This is a powerful combination to accurately record what's on the roof. Use the order blank as a punch list so that you don't miss any items such as stacks, drains, curbs, or the size of fasteners that you'll use. The information on the Duro-Last grid sheet and the order blank helps you consider all the needed accessories to make the installation complete. If possible, don't go up on the roof alone. Always take along the job crew foreman to ask for his suggestions on the layout and to discuss how his crew can work more efficiently. You should also have him help you measure the roof. Measuring alone can be difficult and unsafe. Start by sketching the roof outline onto a Duro-Last grid sheet. The sketch will represent all items to be considered for quoting purposes and should account for all parapet walls and roof edges. As you measure the roof, sketch in and measure all penetrations that may be breaking the deck sheets. These are break points where deck sheets will be started or stopped, and field welding is required at these locations. As you measure the roof area, write all measurements to the nearest inch. Accurate dimensions only increase efficiency. A little extra effort up top makes the difference between saving or losing time in the long run, and it ensures that you don't take the chance of missing a needed dimension. Look at this drawing. Can this roof be accurately assessed for the correct square footage? Remember that your estimate is only as good as the information obtained. Finally, be aware that pricing for parapet walls is slightly different than pricing for deck sheets. So when you measure up a roofing project, remember that the measurements for the deck sheets should be kept separate from the dimensions of any parapet walls. Make sure to sketch in any parapet walls so that you can account for their height, length, and thickness. Remember, deck sheets and parapet sheets are ordered separately and manufactured differently. By keeping these measurements separate, you're keeping all dimensions organized. This is important in the layout procedure so that you'll know square footage of the deck and square footage of the parapet walls. The Duro-Last order blank offers a complete list of Duro-Last accessories. Review this list carefully to ensure that you select the accessories you'll need for your job. As mentioned earlier, bring a measuring tape, minimum 100-foot length, although a 300-foot tape can be helpful on large projects. Bring a 12 to 25-foot measuring tape as well. Other measuring tools are available, but the most accurate way to measure a job is by physically measuring using line measuring tapes. Measure and record all of the roof's actual dimensions, noting inside wall to inside wall and edge to edge dimensions. All additions for field seams and overlaps will be added later. Here's an important point about HVAC units, mechanical equipment housings, or similar large rooftop penetrations. Accurately measure all large penetrations that you will have to work around. Locate them accurately in your sketch by measuring from two perpendicular walls. This will allow you to custom design a deck sheet that will work around that penetration. Also, get the measurements of all the rooftop curbs on which the HVAC or other rooftop mechanical equipment sit. Additionally, take note whether the penetration will require an open or closed curb flashing. To decide this, determine whether you can fit the flashing over the unit. If this is possible, use a closed curb flashing. If it is not possible, specify an open curb flashing that will require a vertical field weld. Count the number and note the sizes of round stacks. Write that data on the back side of the order blank. This way you're sure to get all the stack flashings that are needed. Take another look at your sketch to make sure that you have all the needed dimensions. Be sure to include cross dimensions that might help to locate specific points. Determine cross dimensions by measuring from perpendicular edges. This is useful in all jobs and is required for roofs with angles other than 90 degrees. As you make your sketch on the Duro-Last grid sheet, be sure to note the detail number to be used for specific situations. For example, where you plan to flash a wall 12 inches and use a termination bar, note detail number 6020. Get as much information onto the Duro-Last grid sheet as neatly as possible, being sure that you're able to interpret it accurately when you get to your office. Use 2 or 3 grid sheets if needed. Getting all the needed information and keeping it neat will save time and money in the long run. Be sure to measure the building height to plan properly for wind uplift. In high wind zones or for buildings taller than 40 feet, refer to your specification guide or contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department for assistance. Also, fill out the wind calculation worksheet available on the Duro-Last website or in the Documents section of this DVD. You will also need to determine the types and number of fasteners required and what fastening pattern you will use. To do this, you will perform a series of core cuts and pull tests. The proper techniques for these procedures are explained in separate chapters on this DVD. Finally, you must have all required measurements for flashings and edge details, curbs and protrusions, such as pipes and stacks, and tie-ins. These are crucial to ensure that you order the correct material to complete your job. This DVD provides further directions for flashings, edge details, curbs, protrusions, and tie-ins. You can select these topics from the DVD menus. After you've gathered and recorded all the required information, you're ready to start organizing your order. You'll soon see that your efforts during your survey will pay off. Because of your advanced planning efforts, your installation crew will be installing a Duro-Last system quickly and effectively. This video clip will give you a basic understanding of reverse and wind tabs as they are used in Duro-Last roofing systems. First, some definitions. The standard reverse tab is an exclusive feature of the Duro-Last roofing system. It is a fastening tab that faces the opposite direction of the other tabs on a deck sheet. Is used to start the installation of the deck sheet by keeping it aligned with a chalk line. Is always measured from the beginning of the deck sheet. Measures 6 to 63 inches from the edge of the sheet. Can keep the crew a safe distance away from the edge of the roof. Can be used as a wind tab 24 to 36 inches from the roof edge to satisfy Duro-Last wind specification. When double or triple reverses are used, there may be more than one reverse tab on a deck sheet. Double or triple reverse tabs may be used to start a deck sheet behind a large obstacle that otherwise obstructs the starting point. The benefits of reverse tabs are numerous, but generally they can be used to speed the installation process by exposing the first tab that will be used to start the deck sheet. This first reverse tab is always pointing opposite the first regular tab, regardless of whether there are double or triple reverse tabs. This first reverse tab is used to align the deck sheet during the installation by adjusting it to a snapped chalk line. This illustration shows a Duro-Last deck sheet with a 31-inch reverse tab. A reverse tab will be located from 6 to 63 inches from the beginning of the deck sheet. The measurement is taken from the beginning of the deck sheet to the factory weld. Therefore, this illustration shows a 31-inch reverse tab with a 3-inch fastening tab on the underside of the deck sheet. Detail 1050 in the Duro-Last specification manual shows a deck sheet with a 31-inch reverse tab, placing the fastening tab 24 to 36 inches from a roof edge. This is helpful in satisfying Duro-Last wind specifications. The bulk of the material will be on the start panel when it is folded up and will always allow the first reverse tab and first regular tab to be exposed as you start to unroll the material. This process allows you to keep the material a safe distance away from the edge of the roof and allows the crew to easily maneuver when starting the sheet. Here is a tip on measuring the chalk line for the first reverse tab. If the installation of the deck sheet is parallel to a parapet wall, simply subtract 3 inches from the width of the first reverse tab for the chalk line. For the standard 31-inch reverse, snap the chalk line 28 inches from the parapet wall. Here's an example. A deck sheet having a 31-inch reverse tab would be started by measuring 28 inches from the parapet wall and snapping a line. By adjusting the reverse tab to the snapped line, the edge of the Duro-Last material will fall right at the transition to the parapet wall. If there is no parapet wall, subtract out the amount needed to go over the edge of the roof and the width of the 3-inch fastening tab of the first reverse tab. That distance becomes the measurement needed to snap a line to start the deck sheet and allow enough material to go over the edge for proper termination. For the standard 31-inch reverse, snap a chalk line 25 inches from the edge of the building. This will allow 3 inches to be wrapped over the edge of the building until the edge detail is installed. If an obstruction is in the way of the reverse chalk line, snap a line at 89 inches from the edge of the building and fasten the first regular tab. This covers the basics of reverse and wind tabs. For more information, refer to the specification manual or contact Duro-Last. This video clip discusses the core cuts that you'll need to make during the measuring and ordering process. When you are done watching it, you will have the knowledge needed to use correct procedure and technique during the measuring and ordering process. Doing a core cut lets you determine several critical factors for the installation, such as substrate materials and the depth condition and makeup of the existing roof. Knowing the makeup also lets you determine the right type and length of fastener. Core cuts also let you consider concerns such as water saturation or how many roofs are already in place. National or local codes may determine whether the building will require a complete or partial roof tear-off or permit a recover. Check these codes carefully before proceeding. Note that Duro-Last specification requires that you repair or replace existing saturated areas with new materials before roofing over them. Proceeding to the core cut, first locate the areas to be cut by considering the general roof layout and construction characteristics that you observe. A series of cuts should be made in questionable areas. Do as many cuts as needed to do a thorough analysis of the existing roof. Contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services or Quality Assurance Departments for more information. Using a core cutter as shown here, cut down to the roof deck and extract a sample of the existing roof makeup. Thoroughly examine the sample. The material and condition of the deck will help you determine the correct type of fastener to use later in the pull-out test. Squeeze the sample with your hands. If moisture comes out of the sample, then the roof is saturated and must be torn off and replaced. In recover applications, you must conduct at least 50% of the pull-out tests through a core cut hole. After the core cut and pull-out test, you can determine the type and length of fasteners and calculate the number needed by using the Duro-Last fastener spacing table. This chart is available as a document link in the document section of this DVD. It is also in the specification manual. Only approved Duro-Last fasteners and plates may be used. After the core cut process is complete and you have recorded all the needed information, make sure that you correctly repair all cuts to ensure that the existing roof is watertight. When you're done, you can proceed to the pull-out test to decide the types and number of fasteners for the job. This video clip covers why and how to perform pull-out tests and gives you the knowledge you'll need to select the correct fasteners for your job. For this topic, you should also refer to the Fastener Selection and Deck Combinations section of the Duro-Last Specification Manual. The fastener selection tables help you determine types and numbers of fasteners. The pull-out test is performed only after you have completed sufficient core cuts to correctly determine the roof's makeup and condition and have recorded this data. 50% of your pull tests must be performed in core cuts. To verify a deck's integrity and to establish fastening pattern limits that meet Duro-Last specs, you must perform fastener pull-out tests on the roof deck with approved fasteners. The fastener manufacturer, Duro-Last contractor, or Duro-Last sales representative must conduct this test at the job site. Always have a pull tester and keep it in proper working condition. You can purchase a pull tester from Duro-Last. Remember that pull testers must be calibrated once per year. Contact Duro-Last for information on calibrating pull testers. Note this important point. You must perform a minimum of 10 pull tests for up to 50,000 square feet and 5 additional pull tests for each additional 50,000 square feet or portion thereof on each project. Now, let's see the proper test method. Install an approved fastener into the roof deck, making a 1-inch penetration from the deck surface and leaving a minimum of 1 inch exposed above the roofline. Auger and NTB fasteners require a minimum 1.5-inch penetration. Factory mutual projects require a minimum 2-inch penetration. Contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department for more information on factory mutual jobs. Attach the pull-out tester head plate under the head of the fastener and twist the handle until the fastener pops out of the roof deck, observing the pull-out tester gauge to read how many pounds of force are required to pull out the fastener. Record this data in writing and keep it. After the pull-out test process is complete and you have gathered all the needed information, make sure that you do all the needed repairs to ensure that the existing roof is watertight. With your core cuts and pull tests completed, you're ready to order the proper type and number of fasteners for your job. Refer to the mechanically attached details section of the specification manual for full details about fastener and plate requirements, use, ordering, and installation. Determining the correct fastener to be used for the job is crucial. You should understand the types and uses of the various Duro-Last fasteners and plates. Here are the available Duro-Last fasteners with a brief description of where they are used. The Duro-Last No. 14 spade point screw is used on various wood, metal, and concrete decks. You can identify this fastener by its single flute cutting edge with a spade point and P3 driving head. The Duro-Last No. 14 drill point screw is also used on various wood, metal, and concrete decks. Identify this fastener by its double cutting drill point edge. The The Duro-Last number 15 drill point screw is also identified by its single flute cutting edge, drill point, and a P3 driving head, the same as the Duro-Last number 14 drill point screw. However, on decks with a lighter pullout value, such as thinner gauge metal decks, this larger gauge fastener can produce higher pull test results than the number 14 screw. The Duro-Last concrete fluted nail is used on structural concrete decks and is hammered in place. It requires a pre-drilled 3/16 to 7/32 pilot hole, a minimum 1.5 inch depth, to achieve a minimum 1 inch penetration into the deck. Be cautious to ensure that you select the proper length fastener. If you must remove the fastener for any reason after driving it, you must cut the nail and discard it, then grind the stub down to the deck level. The Duro-Last concrete high-low screw is the recommended fastener for use on structural concrete decks. It requires a 3/16 to 7/32 pre-drilled pilot hole, a minimum of 1.5 inches deep, to achieve a minimum 1 inch penetration into the deck. The high-low threads help to auger out any powder residue from the drilling process, allowing the fastener to drive easier. You can remove this fastener by unscrewing it after it has been screwed in place. If it is undamaged, it can be reused. If it is damaged, simply discard it and use a new fastener. Zinc-plated metal anchors are used for terminations into masonry. They require a pre-drilled 1/4 inch pilot hole 2 inches deep. These anchors are typically used with termination bars and fascia bars. The Duro-Last auger fastener with plates is the only fastener that Duro-Last supplies that comes with its own distribution plate. Use this on cementitious wood fiber decks, tectum, gypsum decks, and lightweight concrete decks. The Duro-Last auger fastener is made from glass-filled nylon with an internal square drive. A specially designed plate and fastener combination is manufactured with one-way tabs on the underside of the fastener head that lock into the ratchet teeth of the 2-inch metal plate. Gypsum or lightweight concrete decks require a pre-drilled 7/16 to 9/16 pilot hole at least 2 inches deep for this fastener. Do not use a pilot hole when using this fastener on a tectum deck. The auger fastener will bore through the tectum without a pilot hole. If there is an existing built-up roof over the tectum deck, pre-drill through the built-up roof only. The Duro-Last liquid auger fastener is a composite nylon and fiberglass screw that has a 3-inch diameter stress plate head with an internal hex head drive. The fastener can be installed with a 9/16 inch hex head screw gun adapter bit that is supplied with each order. The liquid auger fastener is designed for attaching insulation and roofing membrane to lightweight concrete, cementitious wood fiber, or gypsum decks. This fastener has a hollow shaft through which a 2-part epoxy may be injected using a dual cartridge caulk gun. The liquid flows down through the shank and out the disbursement outlets into the surrounding substrate, where it then hardens. For full information, refer to the product data sheet in the Duro-Last specification manual. The Duro-Last polycarbonate plate is designed to be used with all Duro-Last deck fasteners except the auger fastener. The polycarb plate is black, measures 2 inches in diameter, and has 10 spikes on the plate's underside. The fastener goes through the poly plate and then through the Duro-Last membrane. This plate's unique strength and underside distribute and equalize pressure on the securement tab on the underside of the Duro-Last membrane. If the membrane is going directly over a hardened surface such as concrete, wood, or built-up roof with proper slip sheet, you can use a 2-inch barbed metal plate only by Duro-Last authorized deviation and only if there are no additional wind specifications on the project. The Duro-Last insulation plate is designed to be used with all Duro-Last deck fasteners except the auger fastener. This plate is 3 inches in diameter and has the words insulation plate clearly stamped on its topside. This plate can only be used with approved insulation that is mechanically attached, but at no time can it be used for roof membrane attachment. The Duro-Last square metal plate is designed to be used with all Duro-Last deck fasteners except the auger fastener. This is a 3-inch by 3-inch square galvalume plate. Square metal plates may be used for installing insulation, fastening around all penetrations, between the tabs on sheet edges that are perpendicular to the tabs, and on all parapet wall fastening. The stress distribution plate should be installed with the edge a minimum of 1/4 inch from a factory weld. Proper fastener spacing is crucial for a successful Duro-Last roofing system installation. The fastener spacing table in the metal retrofit section of the specification manual provides spacing specifications for 28-inch, 5-foot, and 10-foot tabs. This table is also available in the Documents section of this DVD. If the building is not in a high wind zone or over 40 feet high, refer to the fastener spacing table. For buildings over 40 feet in high wind regions, call the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department to determine if additional enhancement is required. Once you select the proper fastener, you must follow the Duro-Last minimum fastener spacing indicated in the fastener spacing table. Notice the two different categories for fastening to 60 pounds or 90 pounds per square foot. Each table has 3 columns made up of several rows. The left column lists the pull-out test result, and the middle and right columns show the required tab spacing and fastener spacing respectively. Check each project's specific requirements to determine whether you must use the 60-pound or 90-pound design. Once you know this, use the appropriate fastening table for 5 and 10-foot tabs. You must also consider wind specification. If your project has no wind specification, you may use the 60-pound per square foot table if the building is not in a high wind zone and is not over 40 feet high. Note that you may not use 10-foot tabs on buildings over 40 feet high or in a wind zone of 110 miles per hour or greater. Next, in the pull-out result column, find the proper range to correspond to your pull test results. To find the correct fastener spacing spec, read left to right and cross-reference the proper tab spacing in inches along the securement tab. If your pull test results are between the values shown in the table, use the next lower range. For example, using the fastener spacing table for a 60-pound design that has a 425-pound pull-out result allows you to use 60-inch tab spacing fastened 15 inches along the fastening tab. The same 425-pound pull-out result using the 90-pound design allows you to use 60-inch tabs fastened 9 inches on center along the fastening tab. Other considerations may apply for using 10-foot tab systems. For these and other considerations, review the mechanically attached specifications for 10-foot tab systems found in the spec manual. This concludes our chapter on fastener selection. For more information, refer to the spec manual or contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department for assistance. The purpose of this short video clip is to give you the general knowledge you need to accurately measure and plan for the edge details in your Duro-Last roof project. To understand Duro-Last edge details, refer to Detail Drawing 6150 for all parapet wall details and all 3000 series details. These are in the Duro-Last spec manual. Always remember to check the integrity of the wood nailer on recover applications. If insulation greater than 1 inch is going to be installed, an additional wood nailer is required. The type and color of edge detail needed for a project depends more on cost and aesthetics rather than structural needs. There may be several different details on any given edge. When you go up on top, take the Duro-Last grid sheet and order blank on a clipboard. You can also take the Duro-Last spec book with you. These tools give you the principal guidelines for edge and other reference details that you may find on the roof. Edge details can be installed on the outside vertical edge of a flat roof or on either vertical surface of parapet walls in lieu of coping caps. All Duro-Last edge details are shipped in 10-foot lengths. After selecting the type of edge detail, the next step is to measure the building perimeter to determine the lineal footage needed. For Duro-Last vinyl drip edge and gravel stop products, it is recommended that you install Duro-Last 90-degree outside corners. Be sure to count the number of corners on the building and order them accordingly. Duro-Last will provide a cover clip for every 10-foot length of vinyl edge detail ordered. If you are going to make additional cuts at the job site, you will need to order extra cover clips. For the Duro-Last two-piece metal and metal covers for fascia bar and gravel stop, there are 90-degree inside and outside corners available. Count and record the corners accordingly. After determining the type and amount of edge detail needed, calculate the number of fasteners needed. Duro-Last fascia bars, termination bar, and two-piece metal products require 6-inch on-center fastening. Drip edge and gravel stop products require 8-inch on-center fastening. The Duro-Last spec manual covers most edge details that you will encounter. If a detail isn't covered, contact Engineering Services at 800-248-0280. The purpose of this short video clip is to give you the general knowledge you need to accurately measure and plan for performing a tie-in between a Duro-Last roofing system and an existing roofing system. For this procedure, refer to Duro-Last detail drawings 1080, 1090, 1100, and 1130. A tie-in is a situation that occurs where a Duro-Last roof meets another roofing system. To view instructional videos on different kinds of roof methods, choose the videos from the tie-in clip menu on this DVD. The first consideration for planning a tie-in is to determine the type of existing roof and which tie-in method will be best. During planning, you will always need to calculate the amount of materials needed to complete a roof tie-in. You also need to determine whether the location is at an expansion joint, which is a good place to tie in to an existing roof system. Note that tie-ins must always be terminated to the substrate. Like all other measurements and planning, tie-ins affect the estimate. Once the specific tie-in detail is determined, it defines additional accessories and materials that you will need. If any details are not covered in the Duro-Last specification manual, contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department for additional details and clarification. For estimating purposes, you must determine if the tie-ins will involve a curb or wall. If you include the tie-in as part of the deck material, you will need to account for the material when estimating or ordering the rectangular deck sheets. Increase the size of the deck sheets accordingly. You can also order the tie-in membrane as a separate roof section with fastening tabs at specific points, or you can order a narrow strip of roll goods. Remember to always include 6 inches of material for overlap and field seaming. Duro-Last has an asphalt-resistant product, or ARP, that can be used to tie the Duro-Last membrane to an asphalt roof. This ARP material is usually ordered in 6 to 18-inch strips. One side can be field seamed to a Duro-Last membrane and then be tied into the asphalt roof section using an asphalt product. You will encounter many different tie-in applications in the field. If you need more information for the specific application that you encounter, contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department at 800-248-0280. When you have finished watching this short video, you will be able to effectively use the Duro-Last roofing system order blank to ensure that you order the right components for your job. Have a Duro-Last order blank handy when watching this video. The order blank contains fields for every pertinent detail about the customer, the job name and description, the required roof system specs, and the specific materials and accessories that will be required. You must be sure to fill in the order blank completely to ensure that Duro-Last has all the information needed to design, engineer, manufacture, and deliver your system. Looking at the order blank, locate the roof sections portion shown here. Note that the length and tab are the same. This deck sheet is 27 feet wide by 65 feet in length, with the tab direction the same as the length. The tab direction always denotes the deck sheet length. This is important to understand in order to have the tabs go in the direction that you require. One more example. A deck sheet ordered as 65 feet by 27 feet, tab 27 feet, will have the tabs going in the short direction of 27 feet, and 27 feet will be considered the length of the deck sheet because of the tab direction. The length and the tab direction are the same. Proper labeling is important to identify any reverse tabs that are needed in the notes section. Be sure to indicate proper reference to any needed reverse tabs. For example, 31-inch reverse, 63-inch reverse or full reverse, or 31-59 reverse from beginning. The parapet material section lets you identify parapet flashing dimensions. Keep in mind that parapet flashing is denoted in height and length, with a 100-foot maximum length. The A, B, and C measurements of parapet labeling are left at factory default values unless you require a change. Please note such changes appropriately. Parapet sections are identified by sequential number as seen on the order blank. When writing your order, remember to specify one two-way breather vent for every 1,000 square feet of deck membrane. For an explanation of measuring for parapet flashing, refer to the ABCs of parapets document in the Documents section of this DVD. The formula discussed is helpful and easy to understand. And for more parapet labeling information, see the Duro-Last Specification Manual section on parapet wall tab spacing. The order blank also functions as your punch list. It addresses most situations that you will encounter on the rooftop during your survey, including two-way vents, stacks, drains, and accompanying CDR rings, tools, welders, fascia, drip edges, gravel stops, termination bar specifications, and other Duro-Last details, accessories, tools, and materials. Use this list to accurately record all details, quantity, and type of items that you will need. If you need more explanation or details, contact the Engineering Services or Sales Department. Some Duro-Last accessories are not listed on the order blank, so refer to the Duro-Last price list for a complete listing. For additional information of non-listed accessories, contact the Duro-Last Sales Department. When you're done filling in the order blank, be sure to review it in detail, comparing your sketches, notes, photos, and the order blank to ensure that all your needs are covered and Duro-Last has all the information they need to accurately quote your project. Feel free to contact Duro-Last for assistance or information on ordering at 800-248-0280. This video will help you know and apply the general rules required for correctly ordering a complete Duro-Last roofing system. It will also point you to other detailed information that you will need to order proficiently and confidently. When ordering, always use the Duro-Last order blank. You can order using one of several methods. Order blanks are available upon request directly from Duro-Last, or you can download and print them from the Duro-Last website. After filling in the order blank, you can mail or fax it to Duro-Last. You can also order your Duro-Last roofing system online through the Duro-Last website. Go to the Duro-Last homepage and click on the Contractors link. Then log in with your username and password. Next, go to the Resources tab and click on the Product Order form. This will load the online order system. Be sure you have all your information accurate, neat, and complete. Fill in the form completely and click the Submit button and your order will be submitted. The Duro-Last roofing system is a custom, prefabricated product. It is crucial that you measure correctly to ensure a correctly placed and manufactured order. Refer to the measuring and ordering chapters on this DVD for further instruction. Duro-Last requires the following preliminary information to begin the order. First, supply an account number or your complete address. Second, provide the complete job site address. Spell correctly and include the complete street address, city, state, and zip code. Third, provide the complete ship-to address. Fourth, include the type of warranty. Fifth, the material type and color. Sixth, packaging instructions. And finally, the building height. You will always order the Duro-Last roofing system by roof sections labeled Section A, Section B, Section C, and so on. Each roof section has three components: width, length, and tab direction. Width and length indicate overall roof dimensions. The term tab defines on which dimension the fastening tab will be manufactured into the sheet. For example, if you list components as 14 feet 6 inches by 32 feet, tab 32 feet, then the tab will be built into the 32-foot side of the roof sheet. The tab dimension is always the same as the length. Duro-Last custom manufactures flashings to cover all or any part of parapet walls. All parapet wall flashings must contain a tab. Parapet wall flashings have three components: height, length, and fastening tab location. The height and length are the overall dimensions of each parapet section. Tab locations are denoted by the letters A, B, C, etc. These letters denote the distance between fastening tabs. In this example, the parapet roof section is 2 feet 6 inches high, 94 feet long, and the tab locations are at 6 inches on the deck and 24 inches up the wall. Be very careful not to under or overestimate accessories and materials. The order blank provides a reminder, and you can refer to the Duro-Last specification manual where you'll find complete instructions for ordering and estimating. You can also call Duro-Last directly for assistance. Duro-Last also offers a complete line of hand and automatic tools for completing any Duro-Last roof system job. Refer to the Required Tools chapter on this DVD or talk with your Duro-Last representative for details. To order correctly, be as accurate and as thorough as possible when surveying and measuring your roof job. Care up front helps ensure success later. Duro-Last Roofing is a full system supplier. After you place an order, Duro-Last manufactures and packages the custom-fit roof system to prepare it for shipping. Shipping is through freight lines from one of the 4 Duro-Last plants. The order size will determine the truck size needed. It is the roofing contractor's choice whether to use a flatbed or a box truck. You will need to supply to Duro-Last the Ship To location at the time you place the order. The roof and components are shipped on pallets or in tubes. The roofing rolls are stacked on pallets, stretch-wrapped, and clearly labeled for easy identification. If you choose to order the roof sections on carpet rolls, they will be shipped on 10 to 25-foot stretch-wrapped tubes. At shipping time, the tubes will then be stacked on a truck. Small roof sections, parapets, and all accessories will be packaged in boxes. All boxes are clearly labeled for identifying the contents. Multiple boxes are then stacked on a pallet and stretch-wrapped together. The pallet contents are then clearly labeled. All edge details are packaged in 10-foot cardboard tubes. However, large quantity orders may be packaged in wood crates. After the order is packaged and marked, a bill of lading is prepared with the numbers of pallets and tubes detailed. Upon receiving the shipment, the contractor is responsible for counting all pallets, boxes, and tubes before the truck leaves the site. Any shortages or damaged product must be documented before signing and accepting the product. A packing list will be attached to the outside of one of the pallets. Use this packing list as a tool to inventory the shipment before signing the bill of lading. Truck lines do not unload the trucks. You must have adequate personnel and material handling equipment available at the delivery site. When you're finished watching this clip, you'll know how to correctly receive, check, unload, handle, and stage your Duro-Last roof system materials in order to prevent damage as you prepare for installation. When materials are delivered to your specified site, the complete Duro-Last roofing system and all the related materials you've ordered will be delivered in their original packaging with all shipping labels intact. It is your responsibility to have appropriate personnel and material handling equipment on site to unload and stage all delivered materials. All items will be clearly labeled with the job name, order number, contents, and other pertinent information. First, examine the shipment thoroughly, checking the actual items against the packing lists or bills of lading for accuracy. Closely inspect each package, carton, or box to identify any damage that may have occurred during shipping. The freight agent or receiving clerk must note all damaged materials and/or shortages on the freight bill. Immediately report to the carrier any concealed damage. Materials damaged in shipping, handling, or storage shall not be used at any time. After completing a thorough inspection, it's time to store and stage your materials. Never store any material on or near ponding water or where water may run off from higher elevations onto your materials. Elevate off the roof all accessories that are packaged in cardboard boxes and cover them with tarps securely and completely to keep them dry. You must have adequate personnel and equipment to safely lift and place the Duro-Last roofing system onto the rooftop. You will have determined the necessary equipment during your initial site survey. During staging, you may need to use forklifts or other material handling equipment to stage your materials. When lifting rolls of roofing material to the rooftop, place them near their installation location to save labor and time later. Whatever methods, people, and machinery you use, you must place rolled, prefabricated sections of roof membrane on the roof near roof structural supports and in a manner that makes final installation convenient. Once you've placed materials on the roof, use a material handling cart to move them around. Never, repeat, never endanger others or yourselves by overloading the roof. It is advisable to check with the building owner on all structural support limits before loading materials on the roof and know the approximate weight of different Duro-Last roof sections. For 40 mm nominal thickness, 1,000 square feet weigh 270 pounds. 1,500 square feet weigh 405 pounds. 2,000 square feet weigh 540 pounds, and 2,500 square feet weigh 675 pounds. For 50 mm nominal thickness, 1,000 square feet weigh 300 pounds, 1,500 square feet weigh 450 pounds, and 2,000 feet weigh 600 pounds. Remember, safety and efficiency combined make for proficiency, and proficiency requires careful thought and planning. Plan for staging with the same detail that you give to measuring, ordering, and any other aspect of using Duro-Last roofing systems. This short clip covers how to organize an installation crew. When you're done, you'll know how to staff your job to achieve maximum efficiency and produce the best results for your customers. It may sound easy, but don't take this step for granted. In selecting a crew, you must determine the skills and experience required for the job and select the proper number and type of skilled people. Experience shows that a 4 to 6 person crew is optimal for most jobs. These positions include a foreman, who usually runs the grip pole, 1 welder, and 3 to 4 material handlers and fasteners. The foreman must always be in a position where he can effectively oversee the installation methods and ensure that safety precautions are observed. Here are a couple useful tips from experience. The pace of the grip pole determines the pace and efficiency of the roof installation. It is therefore a good idea to have the foreman running the grip pole, keeping the job moving forward at a good pace. You want enough screw guns for 3/4 of your crew. You'll also want to be sure to have multiple heat welders. These steps ensure that your crew will always have access to the necessary tools to keep your job progressing smoothly and efficiently. With your thorough preparation to staff the right crew and sufficient tools, you can gain optimum efficiency on your job. This clip will show you what you need to know to correctly prepare a surface for a Duro-Last roofing system. When you're done watching, you'll be able to do all the proper steps to ensure that the roof's existing surface is prepared correctly. This is a crucial step in meeting Duro-Last required specifications. First, we'll look at surface preparation, then turn our attention to correctly installing insulation. Finally, we'll look at fastener requirements for specific types of roof decks. In this video, we'll present general requirements and techniques. For complete detailed requirements on all types of installations, refer to the Duro-Last specification manual. The surface must be clean, smooth, and free of fins, sharp edges, and loose materials. Any part of the surface or protrusions that may affect the membrane installation must be repaired. You may directly apply the Duro-Last membrane over new, smooth-troweled concrete, new lightweight insulating concrete, and new plywood, oriented strand board, wood planking, or cementitious wood fiber. All other rough surfaces require a minimum 3/8 inch underlayment or appropriate separator sheet prior to installing the membrane. For more information, refer to the Specification Manual, Section 9 of the Introduction. When re-roofing after a full tear-off, use extreme caution to prevent the membrane from contacting incompatible materials, such as tear-off dust. Failure to do so could produce substandard results, cost you money in the long run, and compromise or void the warranty. When roofing over asphalt or coal tar roofs, including where there has been a tear-off, You must install a minimum 3 mm thick slip sheet or insulation with an approved facer. Slip sheets must be overlapped 6 inches and fastened to hold in place. If the existing system remains, cut down all blisters and secure with screws and plates to make a level roof surface. If water is present, remove it along with wet insulation. With insulation, build up the resulting voids to the surrounding surface level. Apply the appropriate underlayment material and separator, then install the roof as required. Now, let's consider concrete decks. For new construction or replacement, concrete decks must be smooth and have no joints or cracks greater than 1/4 inch. If the concrete is not smooth troweled, it is required that you install a minimum 3/8 inch underlayment over the deck before installing the Duro-Last roof membrane. For new construction or replacement on a metal deck, you must install a 1/2 inch hardboard or 1 inch rigid insulation before installing the Duro-Last membrane and replace all deteriorated decking. For new construction or replacement on plywood decks, the wood must be a minimum thickness of 1/2 inch. If H-clips were used, cover them with duct tape or overlay the entire deck with a minimum 3/8 inch thick Duro-Last approved underlayment or rigid insulation. Decking must be clean, smooth, and have no joints or cracks greater than 1/4 inch. Replace all deteriorated decking. And for decks with cementitious wood fiber, there are only 2 rules. These decks must be clean, smooth, and have no joints or cracks greater than 1/4 inch, or a minimum 3/8 inch fan fold must be used. You must replace all deteriorated decking. Let's move on to insulation. Insulation selection and installation are crucial to the Duro-Last roofing system's performance. In the specification manual, refer to details 1020 and 1030 for minimum fastening patterns for all mechanically attached boards. When you install insulation, follow these requirements. Install all insulation boards, including fan fold and slip sheets, at right angles to the Duro-Last membrane factory welds. See the Duro-Last specification manual for more details on fan fold underlayment boards. Stagger boards 50% from row to row. Neatly trim and fit all boards to the roof deck and its penetrations. Gaps must not exceed 1/4 inch. Only Duro-Last plates and fasteners are approved for attaching insulation. Install a minimum of 5 fasteners and distribution plates into each 4-foot by 8-foot insulation board. More fasteners and plates may be needed if a wind specification is indicated for the roof. Contact the Duro-Last Engineering Services Department to confirm this detail for your wind specification. Install plates so they are flush with the insulation's top surface. Don't break the facer or crush the insulation. Use insulation plates only on insulation and underlayment, not on Duro-Last roof membrane. When installing insulation boards or underlayment, use the Duro-Last 2-inch poly plate, insulation plate, or 3-inch square metal plate. This next point is extremely important to prevent weather from ruining your insulation. On any day, install only the amount of insulation that you can cover with Duro-Last membrane and complete before the end of the workday. Always read and follow the insulation manufacturer's fastening specifications. If you have questions, contact Duro-Last Engineering at 800-248-0280. Now, let's see how to correctly use various fasteners in different kinds of decks. We'll cover this generally here. For complete fastener requirements and details, refer to the Duro-Last specification manual. For steel, plywood, and wood plank decks, use Duro-Last number 14 or number 15 screws. For a substandard deck, it may be beneficial to use Duro-Last number 15 screws. Pull tests will verify proper screw selection. You must drive the screw straight in, not at an angle, and penetrate a minimum of 1 inch from the deck's top surface. Seat the screw head firmly into the plate, being careful not to over or under drive the fastener. For details, see Duro-Last drawing number 1040. Concrete decks require a 3/16 to 7/32 inch pre-drilled hole for each fastener. Drill the hole a 1/2 inch deeper than the screw penetration. Minimum screw penetration is 1 inch. If the screw strips out, remove it and throw it away. pre-drill a new hole a few inches over, and install a new screw with a new plate. If you use fluted concrete nails, you must pre-drill a 3/16 to 7/32 inch hole. Use a hammer to drive the nail into the hole at least 1 inch into the concrete deck. Seat the head firmly into the plate, but don't over or under drive it. If you bend a nail, remove it. It's important to know that in no instance does Duro-Last approve pneumatic fasteners. Now let's turn to correct fastening for lightweight concrete, gypsum, and cementitious wood fiber decks. For these kinds of decks, use the NTB, auger, or liquid auger fastener that Duro-Last supplies. They require a screw gun with a special driver. One driver is included in each box of fasteners. For lightweight concrete and gypsum, pre-drill a 1/2 inch round hole, then install the fastener a minimum of 1.5 inches into the deck. The NTB requires a punch to set the backout wires. The auger does not. Do not pre-drill cementitious wood fiber decks. If gypsum or lightweight poured concrete are used over a metal pan, it may be beneficial to consider using number 14 or 15 screws driven into the metal. With liquid auger fasteners, you can increase pull-out resistance by adding a 2-part epoxy into the fastener, as shown. The shortest NTB is 2.5 inches. The shortest auger fastener is 2 inches. And the shortest liquid auger fastener is 3 inches. On cementitious wood fiber decks, you may have to install additional insulation to prevent the fastener from protruding through the bottom of the deck. To determine the required fastener and securement tab spacing, refer to the pull-out resistance chart in the Duro-Last specification manual. Finally, to compare correct and incorrect driving techniques, refer to Duro-Last detail drawing number 1040. You'll see how important it is to use the correct technique when installing fasteners. Correctly preparing a surface and installing insulation and separation barriers are crucial steps in your installation. Plan ahead, use the correct fasteners, and follow Duro-Last guidelines and drawings to do it right the first time. When you have finished watching this video clip, you will know and be able to use the correct steps and techniques to proficiently install the Duro-Last deck sheet. The first step in installing deck sheets is to snap a chalk line so that your piece can be installed straight. There are 2 different ways to determine where to snap the chalk line. In the first method, you need to know the length of your reverse. This size is written on the roll as shown here. You can also find it on the yellow sticker that is placed on one end of the deck sheet tube. You can also simply measure the reverse. The reverse is measured from the front of the factory weld to the edge of the material as shown. The 2 most common reverses are 63 inch, also called full, and 31 inches. In this example, we'll show you how to locate your chalk line using a 31-inch reverse. You have 31 inches from the front of your factory weld to the edge of your materials. When you snap your chalk line, you want the fastening tab to fall on the line, so you need to subtract the fastening tab width from your 31 inches. Your fastening tab is 3 inches, subtracted from 31 inches, equaling 28 inches. If you were starting your deck sheet at a parapet wall, this 28 inches would be fine. But if the material needs to extend over the edge or overlap onto another deck sheet, you will also need to subtract these measurements. In this example, we are extending our deck sheet 3 inches over the building's edge. The 31-inch reverse, subtract 3 inches for our fastening tab, subtract another 3 inches for our edge overlap, and we arrive at 25 inches. 25 inches from the edge of the roof is where we will snap our chalk line. For the second method of locating the snap line, cut a thin strip of membrane from one end of your sheet as shown. Include the reverse lap and the fastening tab. Then you can use a pen or marker and indicate the amount of material that must extend over the edge or overlap onto another deck sheet. You can then position the strip as shown and mark the spot where your fastening tab falls. Now, snap your line. From the roof layout diagram, determine the correct roll to be used and move it into place. Position the roll so that it will unroll from right to left. Remove the plastic wrap by jerking on the ripcord and unroll the Duro-Last membrane so the exposed tab is close to the chalk line mark. Position the edge of the first tab with the chalk mark and install a Duro-Last plate and fastener near the end of this tab. Position the grip pole about 5 feet from the first fastener and pull the membrane tight and straight along the chalk line. Install another fastener about 6 inches from the grip pole. Continue across the roof in the same manner and then go back and fill in the fasteners at the locations indicated on the tab. Another way to start the first tab is to use Duro-Last ratchet straps. After unrolling the deck sheet, position the edge of the first tab with the chalk mark and install 2 Duro-Last plates and fasteners near the end of the tab. Position the grip pole directly across from the screws and plates you just installed and pull the membrane tight. Install another fastener on this tab. Now fasten the ratchet straps through the existing roof system to the deck. Apply the 4-to-1 rule, which is, for every 4 feet away from the deck sheet, move the ratchets out 1 foot. Attach the vice grips to the factory welds and tighten the ratchet straps until the fastening tabs are taut and lying flat. After the fastening tab is positioned on the chalk line, go back and complete the fastening according to Duro-Last specification. If the sheet is installed so that the ends of tabs overlap an adjoining sheet, cut away about 6 inches of each tab from the top sheet. Take care not to cut through the top of the membrane. This is required for proper welding of the sheets. When the first tab has been fastened, unfold the Duro-Last membrane covering the first row of fasteners. From the installed sheet side, fold the unattached material toward the tab to be installed, exposing the single layer of membrane covering the roof. This will allow you to assure that there are no wrinkles in the sheet when it is fastened down. Position the grip pole in the center of the tab to be fastened and pull at a right angle to the tab, removing the wrinkles. Install a plate and fastener at this point. Move the grip pole about 5 feet and do another pull at a slight angle to pull the wrinkles from the material. Care must be taken when smoothing the membrane. This is best achieved by relaxing the tension on the grip pole before installing the Duro-Last plate and fastener. Continue across the sheet in this manner and repeat on the opposite side of the sheet. Fill in between the installed fasteners at the locations indicated on the tab. Repeat this process until the sheet is completely fastened. If you are using 2 grip poles, position both so that they are in the center of the tab to be fastened, approximately 5 feet apart. Hook up both grip poles on 45-degree angles and pull the wrinkles from the material. Install fasteners and plates next to both as shown. Continue down the tab in both directions until the entire tab is fastened. Fasten in between to Duro-Last specifications. Note that all sheet edges must be either mechanically fastened or welded to a fastened edge according to specifications. Now, let's examine how to cut out for protrusions in the roof deck. First, fasten the tab closest to the protrusion. Measure from the base of the protrusion to the edge of the factory weld on the fastening tab. Measure from the weld the same distance back on the uninstalled membrane and mark the distance. Now make a cut in the shape of an X for the protrusion. You must use caution to be sure only the top layer of the membrane is cut. This will allow the protrusion to push through the Duro-Last membrane when the next fastening tab is pulled out. If the protrusion is too tall to work through the membrane, a cut must be made to the nearest edge of the sheet. Cut out for the protrusion and fold the material around the protrusion. Fasten the next fastening tab and then weld a strip of Duro-Last membrane over the cut. The strip must be wide enough to assure a 1.5-inch weld on each side of the cut. Note that when the roof membrane has been cut and installed to fit around the protrusion, the fastening pattern for the protrusion's perimeter will be the same as the deck membrane, or a maximum of 18 inches on center and a minimum of 1 fastener around the perimeter of each protrusion. Only Duro-Last fasteners and plates are approved and accepted. You now have the knowledge you need to proficiently install Duro-Last roof deck sheets. When you have finished watching this clip, you will know how to correctly install single-tab parapet wall flashings. For more information, refer to the 6000 series detail drawings in the Duro-Last specification manual. First, install the roof deck sheet and fasten it every 4 or 5 feet along the wall to hold the membrane in place until you install the parapet wall flashing. Lay the parapet flashing along the base of the parapet wall with the fastening tab on the bottom side of the flashing. Make sure the factory weld is tight in the corner of the wall and deck as shown. Pull the tab tight using handheld grips or a knee puller and attach the fastening tab into the roof deck through the deck membrane at the base of the wall 18 inches on center. Weld the skirt to the deck membrane. The top of the parapet flashing can then be terminated to the wall a minimum of 8 inches high or may extend over the wall to the outside for termination. This short video demonstrates the correct technique for using Duro-Last deck sheet membrane to flash parapet walls with tabs running up the walls. When extending tabs of your deck sheet flash up a parapet wall, it is recommended to not exceed 2 feet in height. It can be difficult to handle material if you exceed 2 feet. As you are installing your deck sheet, continue to fasten the fastening tab right up to the wall. Fasten into the deck at the base of the wall and also into the wall just above the deck. Continue fastening this tab in the same fastening pattern as the rest of the deck sheet. Hand pullers can be helpful to pull the tabs as they are fastened. Terminate the material to the wall or extend the material up and over the wall, terminating on the outside according to Duro-Last specification. This completes the procedure. For more information, refer to Detail Drawing 6090 in the Duro-Last specification manual. This video will demonstrate the correct methods and techniques for installing Duro-Last scuppers as part of your Duro-Last roofing system installation. A scupper is a through-wall drain and must be flashed properly to ensure a watertight seal. We'll examine 2 types, outside accessible and outside inaccessible. Duro-Last custom manufactures scuppers in the Duro-Last membrane or using a vinyl-coated metal sleeve with Duro-Last membrane skirts. Refer to Duro-Last Detail Drawings 2030 and 2040 for full details. You must install scuppers scuppers after installing the Duro-Last roofing membrane and wall flashings, and to install scuppers in progress with the project to prevent damage during a major rainstorm. The first method is for outside accessible scuppers. To begin, cut a hole in the Duro-Last wall flashing to match the wall scupper hole. Slip the Duro-Last scupper liner through the scupper hole and pull the skirts out onto the roofing membrane and the exterior wall. Heat weld the skirt to the roofing membrane and to the interior wall flashing. Place Duro-Last sealant on the outside of the wall around the scupper hole. Pull the scupper liner snugly toward the outside of the building and press the skirt firmly and evenly into the sealant. Install a Duro-Last termination bar around the outside of the scupper hole through the membrane and sealant. Fasten the termination bar, also called a T-bar, 6 inches on center. Trim the excess material close to the T-bar and seal the T-bar with Duro-Last sealant. Finally, be sure that you seal all termination bars with Duro-Last caulk. On vertical T-bars, be sure to caulk both sides. The process for installing Duro-Last vinyl-coated metal scuppers is the same. This completes the outside accessible method. Now we'll look at the second scupper flashing method, for outside inaccessible scuppers. Start by cutting a hole in the wall flashing to match the wall scupper hole. Apply Duro-Last sealant between the membrane and substrate, and between the wall flashing and the wall. Press the roofing membrane and wall flashing firmly into the sealant to make a watertight seal. Install a termination bar fastened 6 inches on center around the hole and close enough to the scupper hole so that it will be covered by the skirt and be embedded into the sealant. To adhere the scupper to the inside of the walls, apply Duro-Last sealant to the outside of the scupper surface. Slip the scupper liner into the hole and position it properly. Heat weld the skirt to the parapet and deck membranes and to the wall flashing covering the termination bar. Heat and bend a termination bar to wedge the scupper in place until the sealant cures. Allow the sealant to set 24 hours. This step is not necessary when using Duro-Last vinyl-coated metal scuppers. This completes the outside inaccessible method of scupper flashing installation. For more information, refer to the Duro-Last specification manual. This video will demonstrate the correct methods and techniques for installing roof drains as part of your Duro-Last roofing system installation. We'll look at two kinds, Duro-Last boot drains and clamping ring drains, also known as ring drains. For both types, refer to Duro-Last detail drawings numbers 2020 and 2011. To install a ring drain, first remove the ring. Install roof membrane over the drain. Then cut a hole the same size as the drain hole directly over the drain pipe. Next, cut small holes above the bolts so that the bolts can pass through the membrane. Remember that you must replace any broken bolts first. Apply a heavy bead of caulk or mastic under the membrane around the base of the drain. Reinstall the ring on top of the membrane and tighten it down. Finish the installation by fastening on the leaf strainer as shown. This completes the procedure. To install a boot drain, first be sure the drain pipe is thoroughly clean and free of debris. Then, install the roof membrane over the top of the drain hole. Cut a hole the size of the drain pipe through the membrane. Install a plate and fastener next to the drain hole. Apply a minimum of half a tube of caulk to the bottom 4 inches of the drain boot sleeve. Insert the sleeve into the drain and adjust the drain into the proper position. Heat weld the skirt to the deck membrane, being sure to make a minimum 1 1/2 inch wide weld. Insert the drain rings to the same location as the caulk as far down the sleeve as possible. When installing the second ring, be sure that the gaps in the rings are facing in opposite directions as shown. After everything is in its proper location, use a hacksaw blade or scissors to cut the strings on the drain rings. This completes the boot drain installation procedure. For more information, refer to the Duro-Last specification manual. After watching this video, you will be able to correctly install Duro-Last two-way breather vents and flashings in the roof. Refer to detail drawings 5010 and 5020 in the Duro-Last specification manual. We'll look at two types of installations: new construction and recover applications. Let's start with new construction. Duro-Last vents are required on all enclosed structures except for freezer buildings at the rate of one vent for each 1,000 square feet or any fraction thereof, with a minimum of one per roof area. You must space vents equally across the deck membrane. Duro-Last breather vents come with a prefabricated skirt that you will use to weld to the roof membrane to create a watertight seal. To install a vent, cut a 7-inch diameter hole in the Duro-Last membrane at the vent location. Make a single 2-inch cut from the edge of the hole. This will allow you to insert the vent feet under the membrane. Place the vent over the hole and slide 2 of its feet under the roof membrane. Rotate the vent until the 3rd foot comes to the 2-inch cut. Continue to rotate the vent and guide the 3rd foot through the cut, placing all 3 feet under the roof membrane. Then, using a heat welder, field weld the prefabricated vent skirt to the deck membrane. Now, let's look at the correct vent installation technique for recover applications. Refer to Duro-Last detail drawing number 5020. Begin by cutting the same 7-inch diameter circular hole in the Duro-Last membrane, making a 2-inch cut from the edge of the 7-inch hole. You've now exposed the slip sheet, underlayment, or insulation below the roof membrane. Cut a 4-inch diameter hole through the underlayment and original roof membrane to expose the original insulation. If a built-up roof is present, cutting through the buildup is not required. Do not cut through the original insulation and do not penetrate the existing vapor barrier. Remove the debris from the hole. If you removed insulation, fill the void with new insulation. Apply sealant to the underside of the insulation plug to hold it in place. Of course, if the original roof has no insulation, you won't need to do this step. Now, follow the same steps as with a new or replacement roof, placing the vent over the hole under the Duro-Last membrane and rotating it until all 3 vent feet are under the membrane. Finally, using a heat welder, field weld the vent skirt to the deck membrane, making a watertight seal. For more information, refer to the Duro-Last specification manual. This video clip will demonstrate the proper method for installing Duro-Flash as a termination under existing metal counterflashing. Duro-Flash is fabricated from a 1/8 inch by 3-inch flexible vinyl product with a 6-inch Duro-Last membrane skirt. Refer to detail drawing 6140 in the specification manual. Begin by sliding the Duro-Flash component up under the existing metal counterflashing as high as it will go. Fold up the skirt on the counterflashing and fasten it through the 1/8 inch vinyl product only, 6 inches on center, into the wall substrate. Next, heat weld the Duro-Flash skirt to the parapet flashing, being sure to maintain a minimum 1 1/2 inch wide weld. This completes the procedure. For more information, refer to the specification manual.